issue at all. The Chief and I agreed to fix the number of full-time police officers at 1,220, predominantly because we couldn't afford any more than that at this current time, and we didn't want to see the level of policing go below that. So we fixed it at 1,220. We also fixed the number of PCSOs that the force are directly paying for. This is not the group of people that are match funded by councils, but the ones that the force has entire control over in terms of the funding. We also fixed that number. So, faced with that, and also a commitment of mine to increase the numbers of visible police, or visible policing, I had no alternative really than to go back to the community of Northamptonshire and argue that you want to see more police, then you need to be part of the solution. It makes entire sense. So, Special Constables are obviously the most obvious place to go to, but we couldn't at all attract and retain the numbers that we would need to make that difference unless we were going to reinvent the role. So you're absolutely right that the Special Constable of the past isn't the model of the future. And this has required, and I'm sure the Chief will talk about this probably in a moment, but this has required the force to reimagine what the role is and to change the way we recruit. So as the public speaker mentioned, we are making kind of comparisons to people's careers and the jobs they currently do to use those as skills and expertise in the force. Now the force have always done that, but I'm not entirely sure the public are entirely aware of where they can make a contribution. So this has been really important. The marketing campaign, unpack it, this is what you can do. That's the special constabulary. So yes, if you're a retired accountant or even a current accountant and you feel that your skills would be better placed within sort of the fraud setting rather than walking a beat, then there's an opportunity to volunteer as a special in that area, and the force will train you just the same for frontline duties, but there might be, if you're going to specialise in fraud, they might train you slightly differently. But that's entirely different to also the volunteers aspect. So by 2016, if we reach this 900, we'll have about 2,000 people volunteering. Huge. But volunteers can be very different to actual just volunteers who become specials. So we have, again, across force departments, volunteers who are not specials, but people who volunteer in different ways. And I think that's to be encouraged as well. So we're basically saying if you want to make a contribution, you don't have to just do it this way. We'll create a number of ways for you to make a contribution and use your experience and skills. The 900 is bold, but when you think about it, 900 spread across Northamptonshire isn't actually a massive volume. It's really the start of, hopefully, years and years of getting more and more people involved in policing in their local communities. Before I may just ask the Chief to say something, what I think is an exciting offer, and particularly for the panel members to go back to their communities and talk about, is the Chief's design of a parish constable. So at the moment, if you want to be a special and contribute anywhere, you can. But if you actually live in a rural village, let's just say, or a rural town, say Higham Ferris, for example, you might say, well, I only want to police that area, and that's fine. The force will support that training, development, you will be able to work there. And also, for a part of your shift, the Chief's also allowing the town council to be responsible for tasking. So to me, that's tremendous for a town council or a parish council to be able to say, we would like police officers here, and the Chief said, we'll let you do that. You police the area that you want to police. I think that's tremendous. So where people like Corby, who have PCSOs in the Corby area, many people say to me, I wish we could task them in this direction or task them in that direction, because they kind of have to do what their team says. The Chief here is changing, I think, a bit of the operational practice around specials to say there's more freedom and flexibility for the local area. Do you want to?
I think Mr. Brown was talking about two issues. One was about the number of specials, and one was about how they are deployed. The issue about the number is part of the police and crime plan. That's part of the Commissioner's strategy. The rationale he's outlined is one I fully support, and that element of having 900 is something which the Commissioner can lead on. What specials do is an operational issue for myself, so how we deploy them, whether they're involved in fraud investigation, is a matter for me. And I do want to change the way we deploy specials. I think Mr. Brown's comment that we use them for sort of bread and butter policing, that reflects the past, not the future. And we did kind of sheepwash our special constables. You went through a consistent set of training which wasn't particularly efficient, and you did certain duties but not others. And I just think we need to be much more sophisticated if we're going to attract 900 and we're going to address the modern challenges of policing. and make best use of people's willingness to volunteer and support the police service, we have to make much better use of their skills than saying, no, there's just one type of policing which you can be engaged in. So, for example, we've got some people who have been specialists for some time working in something we call the Dangerous Persons Management Unit. That's dealing with sex offenders. Now, that's an area of risk, but very experienced specials can play a part. And using the specials has ensured we're now compliant with the ACPO standards on the number of visits. So we're providing a better, safer service because we've got specials working in that area. I think fraud's a really good example where people could have skills from outside policing which can contribute to the policing challenge of investigating cybercrime, which is going to be a huge growth area in the future. And if we can get experts from the banking industry, insurance industry to come and help us, then that's entirely appropriate. I don't think they would ever become the senior investigating officer with total responsibility for an investigation. That sits with the regular police officers. But there's lots of things they could use their skills to assist us with those investigations. So we've got to change. And my message to the force is, if we had 900 specials and we treated them the same as we have in the past, that would not be a success. We've got to treat them differently. We've got to have a much better fit between their skills and our need. And we need to make better use of the resource we invest in their training and their equipment. So one of the things that's happened in the last 2 years is that the number of hours worked by the specials we already have is 2 or 3 times the number of hours they worked in the past. So our current investment in specials is giving us a 2 or 3 times return on that investment. And that's part of the cultural change, that if you've gone to the trouble of training somebody, are we getting a return on that investment? Well, we're doing that 2 or 3 times better. The training itself has to be different. The offer we made to people before was, in the next 20 weekends, could you spare 17 to come and be trained to be a special? Well, I think that's a massive demand for somebody who's trying to help you. And we're going to make 3 offers. One will be that offer. One will be a much reduced number of weekends and some computer-based training and homework. And a third option, could you take 2 weeks leave, or have you got 2 spare weeks and we'll train you full time? So a more flexible offer, but also flexible about what we train people on. In looking into the detail, we found out that every single special constable in the last 10 years has been trained on how to do the hospital procedure for a breathalyzer. Now, I've been in the police for 28 years and I've only done it once. But we weren't training them very well on taking statements. And I would expect specials, as well as our regulars, to be taking statements on a regular basis. So we're changing the training to meet the modern needs of policing. So I think that's all really, really positive. And it means that the strategy set by the Commissioner is supported by the operational decisions I make about how to deploy them so that we can work on delivering the police and crime plan to become more ambitious in terms of performance and service we provide at a time when there are less resources. I'm really pleased with what we've done and what we've achieved so far.
Thank you.
Chief Constable, for that very comprehensive reply. And I'm much, what shall we say, enlightened, more enlightened than I was before I asked the question. So thank you again, and no doubt as time progresses we'll get an update on how we are progressing in terms of the numbers that you're encouraging to join. Thank you.
900, without worrying the Chief Constable, I believe is a minimum that we should be seeking more and more people making a contribution. It is a challenge, deliberately a challenge to get ourselves to rethink in a different way. I do think in terms of the future, though, that specials, we need to get into our mind that we're not talking about a different class of person, that they are police officers. And as much as we respect PCSOs, and we've fixed that number, the public tell me they want more police officers, more people with the powers of arrest. So, I think this is entirely a good story. And, when you think a Police and Crime Commissioner and a Chief Constable sitting here saying, we're not getting rid of police officers, we're increasing the number of police officers, crime is falling, these are good things. So it's a bit of an oddity where people sometimes criticise the fact that you're trying to put more police on the streets. It's a bit odd. So I think that's an entirely good position to be in.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Through you, Commissioner, how do you square what you've just said? with the partnership arrangement that is ongoing with the Fire and Rescue Service in Northamptonshire?
I think it's very easy to square. I think it's a good opportunity to say that a fire service that employs about 269 full-time firefighters, take that up to 300 when you include their retained, have successfully almost put fires out totally in this county. It's a new opportunity for two organisations to work closer together, to train fire officers and police in things that they can both do together. We've already, I don't think I've written to the panel about where our integration has gone. I think I will do that. But there's a good report to send you about the teams that are now one team. So the crime prevention team is run by a firefighter, Mark Ainge, but he oversees a team which has police officers in it as well. So we've got a number of examples of that. Police and fire have always worked closely together. They do that at road traffic collisions more spectacularly. You see that happening. But I'm on record as saying I believe that the model for the future is probably a more merged organisation rather than still two separate organisations. Legislation doesn't allow us to do that right now, as you know, but that doesn't stop us collaborating. And I think the Chief will join with me in saying that having over 200 additional people helping around crime prevention and other aspects is a bonus. It's not something to be feared. And for me, this is definitely the way forward.